Here we go. We already kind of outlined what's coming in the chapter. This first section, illuminated in red, is what we're going to do. We will hit up the subsidiary ledgers tomorrow. I know several of you will be gone on Friday, and then we'll focus on special journals next week. The reason that this automated accounting piece is involved is because the more complicated and the more you have more journals, the more you have subsidiary ledgers, it gets to be kind of a paper nightmare. So when you can streamline it all to the computer, it makes things a lot easier. That's why this section is in here. Remember, I visually laid out where we've been from a journalizing perspective. We've always had the general journal, and then you manually post what's called the general ledger. You now know, after reading the chapter, there's actually 5 journals and 3 ledgers. The cool part about automated accounting, which we're going to talk about in this chapter, if you type something into a general journal instead of handwrite it, there's literally a button that would post it for you automatically. With that automation probably comes a big price tag, which we'll talk about. Basic concepts of accounting information systems. Basically what it does is it's a computer system that both collects and processes data and then outputs financial results. So instead of doing this all by hand, you would plug it into a computer system and it's going to collect and process that data for you. I would say most businesses have a computerized system. The larger the business, the more unique the business, they might even have a computer system that was developed just for them. What it includes, it does all of the steps of the accounting process for you. Like if you think about what we've done, it would journalize, it would post, it would do the adjusting entries, it would do the closing entries, it would make financial statements for you. It also provides an electronic cookie crumb trail of everything for you. And it can be either manual or computerized. It works for both. The 3 big things as you look at any kind of accounting information system, whether it's pen and paper or a computer, is it cost effective? Is it useful? And is it flexible? Let's break those 3 down a little bit more. It's got to be cost effective. Sometimes a manual is going to be way more cost effective. However, you get some giant business where manual would be way too archaic, way too cumbersome. Well, then it is going to be worth a little money to invest in a computerized system. It also needs to be useful. Some sophisticated computer system that doesn't make sense to its users is not useful. And finally, is it flexible? Is it something that can be changed in-house? Or would you have to call someone to come in to have them fix it for you if there's a bug? Or if you add an account, can you easily add it inside of there? So what you need to know, and this could easily be on the test, what are the 3 concepts of any accounting information system? Whether it's manual or whether it's computerized. It's got to be cost effective, useful, and flexible. Let's start looking specifically at the computerized. A computerized system involves some kind of software program. Now, it can be kind of a boxed system, if you will, something like QuickBooks, Quicken, Peachtree. Those are different brands of software. Just like we have Adobe, we have Microsoft. Those are brands of software that I teach. These are brands of software programs. I mentioned the Quicken, the QuickBooks, stuff like that. And they perform a variety of functions. Like anywhere that has a barcode that has to get scanned, Willie's, like a tag that's got a barcode on it, that means it's a computerized accounting system, because when that tag is scanned, so that sale is scanned, that information is going somewhere, that sale occurred. And if it's a perpetual system, it's maybe even tracking like its cost of goods sold at the same time. Computerized systems will also output financial statements. So instead of you like bolding things or indenting things, doing the math to figure out A equals L plus OE, it would do all of that for you. There's obvious advantages here. You put data in once and it bloop, 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 flows through the system. In other words, if you journalize something, it's going to post it and it's going to be generating financial statements as you input data. A human is still putting the information in, but it might find human errors easier. And of course, it's going to be more timely. You don't have that cumbersome, like, handwriting of everything. A little bit more about computerized systems. There's really three. You can choose a software package that already exists. You could get what's called entry-level software, or you could get ERP, which is Enterprise Resource Planning System. Let's take a peek at each of them. A software package is things like QuickBooks. So I'm listing examples here. QuickBooks, kind of like Microsoft, is a program you can buy, and you can start inputting all of your business's data in. It's a software package that exists. Or you could get entry-level software, where it's a little bit more customized for your business. You probably have to be trained, and someone has to come in and teach you how to use it. My sister-in-law, she works at a bank, and they just went through a giant changeover in their software system, and she had to have extensive training. And then they had to have the trainers come back after they'd used it for a month. Even my husband, it's not an accounting software, but in his job at the highway department, they have, he's out there surveying, and it's these really expensive pieces of equipment that are data entering, and then how does he then bring that back to his work computer and use it? That's all kind of that entry-level software. You might pay someone to come help you get it set up. You might be able to customize a lot of it, but it's fairly like run-of-the-mill type stuff. ERP, or Enterprise Resource Planning Systems, are used usually by manufacturing companies with 500 plus employees. It's a lot more than just accounting. It does a lot of the HR tracking. It has like the manufacturing components of it, and it usually is that $250,000 plus price tag. And so this is the super expensive one. This is a lot more affordable, and this of course would be more of a meet in the middle. So we talked about computerized accounting systems. Now let's talk manual, so the pen and paper version. You have to do everything by hand. It works well for businesses that don't have a lot of volume. They're not doing a lot of transactions. This is what I use for my Junk by Jenny business. Now granted, I'm plugging some stuff into Excel and Google Sheets. So although I'm using a computer element, I still would consider my business to be manual. I've toyed with the idea of getting barcodes. So then as I'd sell stuff, I'd scan it instead of just hand it over to the customer and rip my tag off. I keep a tagging system. I've really thought about doing a barcode, but then that would mean I'd probably have to go here or here, because of course I'm not at the ERP level, and I probably wouldn't even be at this level. So if I'd go to a barcode system, I'd probably be at that choice level. Just like anything, you really need to understand the manual system before you jump into a computerized system. It's why you have to take a driver's ed in, like a classroom class before they're going to turn you over behind the wheel. It's why you have to do math problems until you can't do math problems anymore. I think of my 5th grader who's learning band for the first time. He still has to write his notes out and write his counts out in his book. There's still a manual element to it. It's why you're learning accounting the way you're learning it. You're learning the manual, so when you jump into computerized, you can appreciate the work that it does for you. This is not probably presented in the book. I just thought it would be a really nice way to compare the pros and cons of each. Let's think about these a minute. So these are both AISs, Accounting Information Systems. There's a computerized option and a manual option. Let's go manual first. What are some of the pros or the good things about a manual system? Let's hear some. Cheap. Could we come down to a computerized con and the opposite of that? It's expensive. Another manual pro, what's a good thing about a manual system? Maybe that's it. Would a con be the paper trail involved? Like you got to be really organized and keep your stuff all together. A con perhaps would be tough with a lot of employees. Like how would you all work on the one system at the same time? Do you know what I mean? Let's move to the computerized side. What's the good thing about a computerized system? Okay, reduced error. Actually, let's go back to manual. The con is increased error. So basically one's pro is the other con, but still I think we should keep going with the list. What's another good thing about a computerized system? Yes. It saves. There's backup. Speaking of save, could we say that it's more time efficient? How about cons, other than expense? Very much. Kind of to merge the two cons, expensive and complicated, it often involves training. Like I think back to my sister-in-law example, and when their bank did a whole reconfigure of their computer system, she had to go to like days worth of training, days, and then had to have all these conference calls. And then once they got off the ground, then the trainers had to come back in a month. And then if there was a problem, then they had to go through all these hoops to get it streamlined. So detailed and super techy. Yeah. and probably very customized to their business. Yep. Yep. So I mean, like I said, one's pro is the other con and vice versa. I just thought it'd be nice to see. Let's take a look at AIS, accounting information systems, from the computerized and manual perspective, and just put it all on one slide. I don't want to go into ledgers today. That'll be tomorrow. What I would like you to do is some end of chapter work, specifically a few questions. So you won't need your workbook pages just yet. I'd like you to do questions 1 through 4. It's asking questions about these accounting information systems. Now just remember, AIS doesn't necessarily mean computer. It means either manual or computer. And then it's asking some specific questions about each of them. I will show you answers and go through details, but I thought I'd give you an opportunity to crank through some end of chapter work, and then we'll reflect on it in a few minutes. Fine. Okay, so we're questions 1 through 4. I'm on page 351. Number 1A, what is an accounting information system? Collects and processes transaction data and communicates that to the decision makers. What you need to know is it can be either manual or computerized. Part B, an accounting information system applies only to a manual system. Disagree, because it can be both computerized or manual. Number 2, certain principles should be followed in the development of an accounting information system. What are they? Cost effective, useful, flexible. Whether it's manual or computerized, those 3 need to be involved. Number 3, on to the next page. What are common features of computerized accounting packages beyond recording transactions and preparing financial statements? It's really everything. I'm actually surprised I was looking for like sales, purchasing. I was looking for, I would have thought that would have been the answer, but basically it's doing the transactions, outputting financial statements. You can easily get at the data, prepare it, there's an audit trail. Internal controls means it's safeguarding from like internal fraud. We'll get into fraud in the next chapter. The movie Office Space, if you will. Okay, you don't want your employees being fraudulent. That's what that does. Making sure it's able to be customized, and then that it's network compatible, especially as workers work from home, that they can like tap into the computer system from home. That's what that means. Finally, number 4, what does an ERP, or how does an ERP differ from an entry level? Price tag. And it's usually for manufacturing businesses, but it's more than just your entry level like accounting software. It's usually all aspects, including accounting, sales, HR, and manufacturing. So if you think about Superior, you know, Jenna mentioned Westmore a little bit. As the sales force is out selling stuff, it's all tied to the same system that shows, you know, the raw materials, the work in progress, the finished inventory. It's all tapped into the accounting. It's all encompassing, but it's got a big price tag.